It's the most recognized word on the planet. It's used in virtually every language on Earth. You say it dozens of times a day without thinking. Okay. 2 letters that somehow conquered the entire world. But where did it come from? What if I told you it started as a joke, a deliberately misspelled abbreviation in a 19th century Boston newspaper, and it was never supposed to last more than a week?
Hold on, the most universal word in human language started as a newspaper joke? That can't be right.
It absolutely is. And the story of how a throwaway bit of wordplay became the single most successful linguistic export in history is one of the strangest, most unlikely tales in the entire history of language. Welcome to the why behind everything.
Okay, and I realize I just used the word we're talking about. Take me back to this newspaper. When and where did this happen?
Boston, Massachusetts, March 23, 1839. The Boston Morning Post published an article by its editor, Charles Gordon Green, and buried in the text was a peculiar abbreviation, OK. Next to it, in brackets, he wrote, all correct.
But OK doesn't stand for all correct. The letters don't match at all.
And that was the joke. In the late 1930s, there was a bizarre linguistic fad sweeping the newspapers of the American East Coast. Editors and writers thought it was hilarious to create abbreviations based on deliberate misspellings. So all correct was intentionally misspelled as all correct, and then abbreviated to OK.
That's the most ridiculous origin story I've ever heard. An entire global phenomenon started because some newspaper editors thought bad spelling was funny?
It gets better. This wasn't the only one. The same fad produced KY for no use instead of no use, KG for no go instead of no go, OW for all right instead of all right. There were dozens of these intentionally mangled abbreviations flying around Boston's newspaper.
So OK was just one of many. What made it survive when all the others died out?
That's the million-pound question, and the answer involves a presidential election, a political club, a devastating insult, and a series of extraordinary coincidences that no one could have planned. The year after OK appeared in the Boston Morning Post, something remarkable happened. It was 1840, and Martin Van Buren was running for re-election as President of the United States.
What's the connection between a silly newspaper abbreviation and a presidential campaign?
Martin Van Buren was from Kinderhook, New York. His nickname was Old Kinderhook. His supporters formed political clubs to campaign for his re-election, and they called themselves the OK Club, Old Kinderhook.
You're joking. The letters OK just happened to match the president's nickname.
Pure coincidence, but it was a gift from the gods for his campaign. Suddenly, OK wasn't just a newspaper joke anymore. It was a political slogan. OK is OK became a rallying cry. The OK Club held meetings, organized rallies, and plastered the letters everywhere. It was one of the first modern political branding exercises.
So the presidential campaign took this silly abbreviation and blasted it into mainstream consciousness.
But here's where it gets even more interesting. Van Buren's opponents weren't going to let this go unchallenged. They seized on the abbreviation and started creating their own meanings for OK, all of them mocking Van Buren. Out of cash, out of credit, orful calamity, orfully confused.
So both sides of the election were using OK, just with completely different meanings. The supporters meant Old Kinderhook is great, and the opponents meant this president is a disaster.
Exactly. And this is the key to why OK survived. It didn't matter what it meant, everyone was saying it. Both sides of the political divide were spreading the same 2 letters across every newspaper, every pamphlet, every political speech in America. It achieved what modern marketers would call total saturation. By the end of the 1840s election, every literate person in America knew the letters OK.
Did Van Buren win, by the way?
He lost, actually, badly. William Henry Harrison defeated him, but OK won. It outlived the campaign, outlived the president, outlived the century. It had embedded itself so deeply in American English that it became impossible to remove.
That's extraordinary. A president lost, but his accidental abbreviation conquered the world? But how did it go from being an American thing to a global word?
That happened in stages, and technology was the driving force at every step. The first major push came from the telegraph. When the telegraph was invented in the 1840s, operators needed short, efficient words to confirm messages had been received. OK was perfect, just 2 letters, unmistakable, clear. Telegraph operators started using it constantly.
So the telegraph turned OK from slang into technical language. It went from newspapers to professional communication.
Then came the telephone. When you pick up a phone, you need quick, clear confirmations. OK fit perfectly. Then came the World Wars, when millions of American soldiers were stationed across Europe, Asia, and the Pacific. They brought OK with them, and local populations picked it up.
Because it's so easy to say and understand regardless of your native language.
That's a crucial point. OK is phonetically simple. Almost every language on Earth has the sounds O and K. There are no difficult consonant clusters, no tones, no sounds that are specific to one language family. It slides effortlessly into any tongue. A Japanese speaker can say it as easily as a Swahili speaker or a Finnish speaker.
It's like it was accidentally engineered to be the perfect universal word.
And then came the 20th century's great amplifiers: Hollywood, rock and roll, television, and eventually the internet. American culture exported OK to every corner of the globe. By the mid-20th century, linguists were calling it the most widely understood word on the planet, surpassing even Coca-Cola and hello.
More widely understood than hello? That's staggering.
It's been documented in use in over 600 languages. There are remote communities in Papua New Guinea, in the Amazon rainforest, in the Tibetan highlands, where people may not know a single other English word, but they know OK. It has transcended language entirely. It's become a universal human sound.
But here's something I've always wondered. Is it OK with full stops, OK in capitals, OK spelled out? Which one is correct?
All of them, and that's part of its genius. OK is one of the most flexible words in English. You can write it as OK with periods, OK in capitals, OK in lowercase, OK spelled out, or even K as a casual abbreviation of the abbreviation. It can be an adjective, the food was OK. An adverb, she did OK. A noun, I gave my OK. A verb, I'll OK that. An interjection, OK, let's go. Very few words in any language can function as so many different parts of speech.
It's a linguistic Swiss Army knife. It does everything.
And its meaning is equally flexible. OK doesn't mean great or perfect. It means acceptable, adequate, fine, acknowledged, confirmed. It sits in this incredibly useful middle ground between positive and negative. When someone asks how you are and you say, I'm okay, you're communicating something very specific. Not wonderful, not terrible, but functioning. No other word captures that precise emotional midpoint so efficiently.
That's true. Fine sounds passive-aggressive sometimes. Good sounds too positive. All right is close, but doesn't have the same universal punch. Okay is just okay.
And that neutrality is exactly why it conquered the world. It's not loaded with cultural baggage. It doesn't carry connotations of formality or informality in other languages because it was imported as a foreign word, a clean, neutral tool for communication.
I want to go back to something, though. You said the misspelling fad of the 1830s produced lots of these abbreviations. KY, KG, OW. They all died. Only OK survived. Beyond the Van Buren coincidence, is there a deeper reason why this particular combination of letters won?
Linguists have studied this extensively, and they've identified several factors. First, the sounds. O is the most open, resonant vowel in English. Hey is a hard, decisive consonant. Together, they create a sound that's punchy, clear, and satisfying to say. Compare it to something like KG or OW. They're mushy, forgettable. OK has a percussive quality that sticks in your memory.
It does have a nice ring to it. Okay, it sounds complete, final, like a full stop made of sound.
Second, it's exactly 2 syllables. Research shows that the most successful words and brand names tend to be 2 syllables. It's the sweet spot for memorability. Think of Apple, Google, Nike, Coca-Cola. OK fits that pattern perfectly.
And third?
Third, and this is the most fascinating part, OK filled a gap that existed in virtually every language. Most languages had words for yes and no, but very few had a clean, efficient word for acknowledged, or that's acceptable, or I understand and agree to proceed. Okay filled that vacuum. It wasn't replacing an existing word, it was providing something that was missing.
It solved a universal communication problem that no one had consciously identified. That's why it spread so easily. Every language needed it, even if they didn't know they needed it until they had it.
Exactly. It's the linguistic equivalent of the wheel. Once it existed, everyone wanted one.
Has anything come close to challenging okay in modern times? In the age of texting and social media, have we created any new words that could rival it?
That's a great question. Some linguists have pointed to emoji as the modern equivalent, a universal visual language that crosses linguistic boundaries. The thumbs up emoji serves a similar function to okay in many digital contexts. But emoji lack the spoken components. You can say okay in conversation, in a meeting, on the phone, in person. You can't speak in emoji. So for now, okay remains unchallenged as the world's most versatile and universal word.
There's something almost poetic about it. A deliberate misspelling in a Boston newspaper in 1839, a joke that nobody was supposed to remember. And now, nearly 200 years later, it's the one word that connects every human being on the planet, regardless of language, culture, or geography.
And that's the hidden why. The next time you say okay, and you will, probably within the next few minutes, remember that you're using a word that started as a bad pun, survived a presidential election, rode the telegraph and telephone across continents, hitched the ride with Hollywood to every country on Earth, and somehow became the most successful word ever created. All from 2 letters that weren't even spelled correctly.
I don't think I'll ever say okay casually again. Actually, that's a lie. I'll say it 100 times tomorrow. But I'll know the story now, and that makes it even better.
And that's all for today on the why behind everything. Thank you for listening.
Next time, we're asking a question about something that covers over 70% of the Earth's surface. Why is the ocean salty? The answer involves volcanoes, ancient rivers, and billions of years of chemistry that's still happening right now beneath the waves.
You won't want to miss it. Make sure you're subscribed and hit the bell so you never miss an episode. We'll see you next time.